Bruce Lee, and then Jean-Claude Van Damme, and then who? After Jean-Claude Van Damme, who is the next? Nobody.
Someone said he was the beast from Eastern. On the other hand, Bolo Yeung was covering up a major secret regarding Bruce Lee. He has finally spoken up on the events of Enter the Dragon. Fighting under secrecy. The ultimate arm wrestling match. That Bruce Lee actually was, together with the shocking reality. The most outrageous aspect is still to come. Fans are incensed by his admission. Our mission today is to reveal the events that transpired after the shutters were closed. Yangzi was born Bolo Yeung in Guangzhou, China, on July 3, 1946. As the nation dealt with the aftermath of World War II and the Chinese Civil War, it was also trying to recover. Formerly, Guangzhou was an important trading center. Nonetheless, it was ailing due to years of warfare. His mom remained at home to raise him while his dad worked as a businessman. There was a lack of food and money was tight. Yeung endured adversity as a child, as did many others of his generation. Toughness and resourcefulness were necessities for survival. He stood out even as a young boy due to his unwavering resolve. He found meaning in martial arts even while those around him battled to make ends meet. When he was 10 years old, he started studying with masters locally. He trained in Tai Chi and Wing Chun, the foundational arts of Kung Fu. He honed his equilibrium and fluidity of movement with Tai Chi. He was able to move quickly and accurately in close quarters because to Wing Chun. Through time, martial arts evolved into a whole new culture. Away from the mayhem of everyday life, it was his refuge. Another interest piqued his interest as he matured. Building muscle. Power and the capacity to mold one's own body captivated him. He included weightlifting into his martial arts regimen. In his training, he never let up, pushed himself to the very edge. His diligence had paid off by the time he was a teenager. His extraordinary strength helped him become China's national powerlifting champion. Sports achievements aside, living under communist control was getting intolerable. China was a hazardous place in the 1960s. Numerous political purges and famines were caused by the actions of Mao Zedong. Once the government took over, millions of people suffered. There was no way out for Yeung if he remained. Run away he must. Crossing the ocean between Hong Kong and mainland China was his only choice, but it was also one of the riskiest. Traveling was a nightmare. In perilous seas, he swam 4 kilometers, or 2.5 miles, per stroke. Many people who tried to get out drowned. Some were apprehended and returned to their original places of discipline. Yeung persisted despite the fact that the water was rife with filth and powerful currents. He finally made it to Hong Kong after an exhausting fight. He was finally free. It was not easy for Yeung to start over in a new city, but he didn't waste any time. He continued his training in martial arts and bodybuilding while working as a fitness teacher. He distinguished out in Hong Kong with his body and discipline. He first took home the Mr. Hong Kong title in 1970 and went on to rule the title for the next decade, until 1980. A title wasn't all this was. His unparalleled strength and commitment were on display. His commanding presence was so effectively portrayed by the moniker, the Chinese Hercules, which quickly spread. His might was more than met the eye. He achieved a deadlift of more than 660 pounds while competing as a powerlifting champion in mainland China. His exceptional level of physical strength set him apart. Filmmakers took notice shortly after. The martial arts genre was tailor-made for his towering stature and commanding presence. He was taken into the world of Shaw Brothers studio because they spotted his ability. He maintained his commitment to fitness even as his career as an actor flourished. It shaped his character and made him an icon of self-control since it was integral to his existence. The Heroic Ones, directed by Chang Che, was his big screen debut in 1970. For someone with his build, playing the character of a frightening warrior came easily to him. Shaw Brothers began to cast him in further films after the film's popularity. His stage persona was that of a silent killer. He became famous for these roles. He lived up to that reputation in 1971's The Deadly Duo and 1972's Angry Guest, solidifying his status as one of martial arts cinema's most terrifying villains. His ascent happened at the most opportune moment. All throughout the globe, martial arts flicks were taking off. The genre had grown to gigantic proportions by 1972, when Five Fingers of Death, with a budget of only $850,000, grossed $400 million. The film's popularity paved the way for performers like Yeung, even though he wasn't in it. But he was only at Shaw Brothers for a short while. In search of fresh prospects, he departed from the studio by 1973. Even in those early parts, he was already a household name as a villain. Everything changed after that encounter. Bruce Lee and Yeung met in 1971 while Yeung was filming an advertisement for Winston cigarettes. While Yeung was still establishing himself, Lee was on the rise to international stardom. Two cinematic stalwarts of martial arts met by coincidence and became lifelong friends. Bruce Lee was unlike any of the other great boxers Bolo Yeung had seen. He was lightning quick, pinpoint accurate, and totally unexpected. Not even the most skilled martial artists could match his agility. Bolo originally doubted Bruce's ability to compete technically because of his lack of confidence in his strength. Bruce was thin and not particularly muscular, which made Bolo question if he had the ability to produce actual power. That uncertainty was fleeting. When Bruce was training with Bolo decided to see how good he was at Jeet Kune Do. Bruce had already come close to him before he could respond. He quickly reached out and gently patted Bolo on the cheek. The hit wasn't particularly forceful, but that was unnecessary. It had meaning. Anytime Bruce wanted, he could get a hit. When compared to Bolo, his control and quickness were unparalleled. Everything changed at that moment. They continued to hold each other in the highest regard after that. They were quite close when shooting 1973's Enter the Dragon. They trained every time they got a break. However, the focus wasn't only on conflict. Bruce had other talents outside martial arts. Being a thinker, constantly challenging himself, he sought to improve. For others in his immediate vicinity, he wished the same. Their talks transcended the battlefield. Their shared experiences, aspirations, and worldviews were the topics of their conversation. Bolo went on to say that Bruce's philosophy had an indelible effect on him. Bruce's kindness had a profound impact on Bolo as well. The choice that catapulted Bolo from relative obscurity in Hong Kong to superstardom on a global scale was his personal invitation to join Enter the Dragon. Bolo had previously acted in lesser-known Hong Kong films and was famous for his bodybuilding. However, following the success of the film, he rose to prominence as a leading actor in martial arts films. Bolo wasn't the only one Bruce cast in the film. He took all necessary measures to ensure his success. He walked him through the steps of filmmaking and helped him hone his camera skills. As far as Bruce was concerned, Bolo was a place full with individuals who shared his enthusiasm and commitment. Bruce continued to help others even while he was at the height of his career. Bolo commented on the significance of this chance years later. "One of the defining events of his professional life," he said. Despite the difficulties, the Enter the Dragon set produced some unforgettable tales. When an extra really challenged Bruce to a fight, it became one of the most iconic scenes. In a genuine combat situation, the man hoped to test the efficacy of Jeet Kune Do. The response was instantaneous. Nobody could have anticipated Bruce's lightning-fast high kick. There was no use for the surplus. Because of his pleasant demeanor and lack of anxiety, Bolo recalled how frequently people disregarded Bruce. However, Bruce would demonstrate his status as one of the world's top martial artists if provoked. While Bruce was on break, an extra insulted him. Bruce maintained his composure. He brought the opponent down easily after accepting the challenge, and then he walked away. He fought without an agenda. Knowing he could put a stop to it without resorting to needless violence, he battled. Bruce and Bolo continued their training together even when shooting was not taking place. However, fighting was only one aspect of their meetings. Bruce explained the underlying principles of Jeet Kune Do. Averse to following strict procedures, he advocated for being flexible and adaptable in all circumstances. Instead of valuing tradition, he prioritized efficiency. For a long time, Bolo thought about these things. Enter the Dragon, Bolo Yeung's breakout feature, revolutionized martial arts filmmaking. It was the first martial arts film to be co-produced by Warner Brothers in the United States and Golden Harvest in Hong Kong when it was released on August 19, 1973. No one anticipated it would become a worldwide phenomenon on a budget of only $850,000, but it did. The picture showcased Bruce Lee's unparalleled screen presence to Western viewers and grossed over $350 million. Additionally, it exposed them to Bolo Yeung, an antagonist unlike any they had seen previously. Bolo Yeung had a career-defining performance as Han's enforcer. Dominance, not only battling, was his function. He personified unbridled power with his towering stature and icy, menacing stare. In a particularly harsh sequence, he punished the 4 guards who had missed Bruce Lee's role. Crushing ribs and snapping necks with frightening ease, he made it plain that terror dominated Han's dominion. Yeung was well known for his generosity away from the camera, which contrasted with the viciousness he displayed on screen. On set, he became close friends with Bruce Lee. Between takes, the two guys would often exercise together because of their mutual love of martial arts and physical fitness. Tragically, the film was shot just weeks before its release. The world was horrified by Bruce Lee's unexpected death on July 20, 1973. It was a bittersweet moment for martial arts movies, which should have been a victory. Although Han was the brains behind the picture, it was Bolo who made viewers cower in terror. Because he was so dedicated to Han, he was an unstoppable force. His last confrontation with Roper, played by John Saxon, proved, however, that physical might alone was insufficient. Bolo first dominated Roper, strangling him and dragging him around like a rag doll, setting the stage for the battle. But Roper fought back, and he won the battle with cunning and speed. Bolo succumbed in the final outcome. Throughout his career, this became a pattern for Yeung. He was known for playing villains who seemed unbeatable but were defeated in the end. Still, he was unfazed by cinematic defeats and went on to win big in the real world. He became famous and got a moniker that would last a lifetime thanks to Enter the Dragon. After the popularity of the film, he formally adopted the stage name Bolo, although his real name is Yeung Z. Bloodsport, in which he portrayed Chong-li, another famous villain, was one of over 100 films in which he acted over the following few decades. Outside of Hollywood, Bolo was still a household name. Because of his colossal stature, it began to represent power and menace to the crowd. The martial arts cinema business underwent a dramatic shift following Bruce Lee's unexpected death in 1973. After Bruce's untimely death, studios scrambled to find a replacement for the biggest star in the industry. This sparked the Bruceploitation film trend, which used characters designed to resemble him in an effort to perpetuate his legacy. Heightened action sequences and plot points that were already recognizable to viewers. A prominent figure in this uprising was Bolo Yeung, who was already famous for his portrayal of the quiet but lethal henchman in Enter the Dragon. Among his cinematic credits are Enter 3 Dragons, Bruce's Deadly Fingers, and the clones of Bruce Lee. These parts allowed him to hone his distinctive style, which included a colossal physique and a piercing gaze that made him an ideal villain. Restrained, methodical, and ruthlessly effective. The 1979 film Enter 3 Dragons featured him in a prominent role. Bolo made every fight scene feel intense as he portrayed a fierce adversary in the film about 3 martial artists who band together to battle crime. Bruceploitation established himself as one of the most menacing characters in martial arts movies in Way of the Dragon 2, 1980, his second feature picture. While many saw these films as cliches, Bolo saw them as opportunities to hone his technique. He wasn't trying to imitate Bruce Lee. Something personal to him was being constructed. This was followed in 1988 by Bloodsport. The film that sparked a revolution was this one. In the film, Bolo co-starred with Jean-Claude Van Damme as the unbeaten Kumite champion Chong-li. He was intimidating, not to mention powerful. Even though he hardly talked, his opponents were terrified just by being in his presence. His words were brief and to the point when he did speak. Fame was bestowed upon lines such as, "Are next. Then it's your turn." As a result of his haughtiness and vicious fighting technique, he became one of the most iconic villains in the history of martial arts. Frank Duxon Chong-li's last confrontation was among the best bouts ever captured on film. Speed and agility were introduced by Van Damme. Bolo was an absolute powerhouse. Every action seemed genuine. All the meantime, tension was rising. Bolo Yeung shot to fame after Bloodsport became a cult classic. In 1991's Double Impact, he and Van Damme teamed together again, 3 years later. Once again, he proved that no one could portray terrifying villains better in his role as Moon. Bolo wasn't confined to playing villains, but that's how he became famous. He portrayed Master Shingo, a teacher instead than a savage, in the 1992 Shoot Fighter, Fight to the Death, and its sequel. This was an unusual opportunity to witness him in a nuanced role, displaying insight rather than blatant hostility. Bolo had previously dabbled in behind-the-scenes filming before Bloodsport catapulted him to international stardom. He helmed the action-packed 1977 picture Bolo, which dealt with themes of vengeance and justice. Although information on the film is limited, it was a daring move for the actor to take the reins as director. Kung Fu, 1979, sometimes called Chinese Samson, was an even more daring undertaking that he undertook 2 years later. This was no ordinary martial arts film. It popularized the idea of calligraphy kung fu, in which martial artists drew inspiration from traditional Chinese calligraphy techniques. The film was revolutionary for its day since it combined martial arts with philosophical themes. Although it didn't receive much acclaim, it proved that Bolo was more than just an actor. He sought to break new ground and was a creative powerhouse. Bolo Yeung portrayed the archenemy for a considerable amount of time. He was the ideal villain for martial arts flicks due to his enormous stature and fierce gaze. His role in 1973's Enter the Dragon was that of a brutal enforcer. He portrayed the invincible Chong-li in the 1988 Bloodsport film. He was the quiet, frightening power that heroes had to vanquish for a long time. Something shifted, though, by the late 80s. Yeung began to play parts that required more than simply intimidating and exerting dominance. He started portraying characters with nuance, insight, and empathy. What this alteration did to his life was far-reaching. His legacy took on a new form as a result. With 1991's Tiger Claws, the change began. Yeung portrayed the character of Chong, a martial artist entangled in a corrupt and criminal underworld. He remained a threat, but now there was an added layer of complexity. Subtle indications of sorrow and self-reflection revealed the character's complexity. Yeung then took on the function as mentor in Ironheart, 1992. A teenage warrior who became entangled in subterranean wars was taught by him as Master Shingo. He maintained the same powerful presence as before, but now he served as the leader. People saw a new side of him, strong with wisdom, when they watched him perform. In 1993's Shoot Fighter, Fight to the Death, he played Sensei Shingo, further solidifying his position as a mentor. Through his training, he instilled in young warriors the values of discipline and tenacity. Due to the film's popularity, Yeung reprised his role in 1990's CXS Shoot Fighter 2. Simultaneously, he made an appearance as Master Sumei in TC 2000, 1993. At this point, he was directing more than simply combatants. In a dystopian future teetering on the edge of catastrophe, he was guiding them. Yeung was shown to be more than simply a force in these roles. He demonstrated that power was about more than simply physical superiority by giving his characters nuance and emotion. His metamorphosis was real, not fictitious. In his personal life, Yeung found a new way to interact with his admirers. He lectured at youth events about the need of discipline and respect, ran seminars, and went to martial arts conventions. Due to his extensive career as villains, he had become a symbol of authority. He was now taking on the role of a wise man. Actors and martial artists who had dreaded his portrayals suddenly looked up to him. The decade of the 1990s came to a close with had accomplished something that happens to very few action performers. He altered people's perceptions of him. He went from being the unbeatable bad guy to a revered guide in both cinema and real life. The fact that he went from being a hated enemy to a respected instructor demonstrates that power is about more than only winning battles. The point is to help other people and make an impression that will endure long after the credits roll. Even at 78 years old, Bolo Yeung maintains the same level of self-control that he always has. He continues to be active even though he retired from acting, MMA, and bodybuilding. To maintain his physical and mental fitness, he does Tai Chi and weightlifting. Keeping fit is something he has never abandoned, even after all these years. He values his family equally. David, Danny, and Deborah are his 3 children, and he maintains tight relationships with each of them. Following in his father's footsteps, David won bodybuilding competitions and went on to teach mixed martial arts athletes. David frequently credits his father with instilling in him the work ethic and perseverance that would later define his own professional success in interviews. Despite Beyond the Lookout Yeung's departure from Hollywood, he continues to have a high level of esteem. The world over, his contributions to Enter the Dragon and Bloodsport are still being praised by fans. Tributes abound on social media, and his impact on martial arts cinema is undeniable. His physical prowess was always genuine. His monikers, Chinese Hercules and the Beast from the East, were not coined in vain. At his strongest, he could deadlift more than 700 pounds. Being powerful like that wasn't a picnic. He began his bodybuilding journey in the 1960s and went on to win the title of Mr. Hong Kong for a decade, from 1970 to 1980. He went on to star in Hollywood films, where his towering stature and commanding presence lent him the role of the ideal antagonist. His strength extended beyond bodybuilding, though. He proved that his on-screen strength was no illusion by winning a powerlifting championship in mainland China. Traditional martial arts and contemporary strength training were the cornerstones of his training regimen. He trained for strength and flexibility with squats, bench presses, and other heavy movements, and he also did Wing Chun and Tai Chi. This provided him a leg up, allowing him to be swift and under control in addition to being strong. As an accomplished athlete and martial artist, he continues to be admired and studied by bodybuilders and martial artists who want to emulate his training techniques. He looked scary on film. He has a reputation off-screen for being a modest and generous man. He was characterized as a gentle giant by several of his co-workers. Alongside him on set, martial artist Harry Mott gushed about his professionalism and politeness. How he managed to be both a devoted parent and a successful businessman is something his children have discussed. Bruce Lee was one of his closest pals. Their bond began on set of Enter the Dragon but continued off-set. There was a lot of mutual admiration and discussion of martial arts and fitness. Years down the road, Bolo forged yet another solid relationship with Jean-Claude Van Damme, setting the stage for their infamous blood sport bout. When it came to Bruce Lee's quickness, Bolo Yeung was always raving about him. In 1973, while filming Enter the Dragon, he witnessed something that stunned him. In terms of speed, Bruce was in a league of his own. Subsequently, Bolo said that Bruce could end a battle in a matter of seconds, thanks to his lightning-fast reflexes. Bruce was as remarkable off-screen due of his meticulousness. He meticulously timed each attack while choreographing battle scenes. He was a master at timing his attacks and retreats such that they appeared swift and uncluttered on film. Enter the Dragon is widely considered to be among the best martial arts films of all time, and this level of commitment is a major reason why. A perceived animosity between the two began to circulate over time. Bolo was fast to put an end to rumors that he and Bruce had actual trouble on set, but some fans thought otherwise. Conflict and jealousy did not exist. He instead painted a picture of Bruce as a diligent worker and perfectionist who motivated everyone around him. Although they were antagonists on film, they were actually quite close in real life and had a love of martial arts. Another urban legend has it that they really fought genuine opponents to see how they fared, but Bolo dispelled the notion as just fan fiction. Even though they sparred occasionally, it was always in a cordial manner. But one story, their arm wrestling match, kept coming up. Despite his little stature, Bruce reportedly prevailed. Regardless of its veracity, Bolo's regard for him was further enhanced by it. Even after all these years, Bolo continues to speak well of Bruce. Because of his unwavering commitment to the martial arts as well as his extraordinary strength and speed, he ranks him among the best martial artists of all time. Bolo did his part to ensure that a guy whose impact on martial arts will last forever was remembered by telling his story.